Hey, it's actually funny. Your hair is very good with the green screen. Yeah. Alright, now with my manager out of the way, let me kick in the video by asking you a simple question. What do you remember learning about the 80s? Now, I do say learning because obviously I did not live back then, and if you did, you old fossil, more power to you. In what concerns me, I learned that it was a decade unlike any other, one that felt as if it was from a completely different universe, where people were happy, living in a moment, and always dressed like NPCs from Cyberpunk 2077. I went even looking and asked a bunch of friends to do the same in their family album, and we realized that our parents were surprisingly hot back then. Like, what the fuck? Now, if you did live in the US, that's where it gets a lot more fun, because you guys, you had crack.
I will tell you, Director Deutsch, as a former Los Angeles police narcotics detective, that the agency has dealt drugs throughout this country for a long time.
You got the crack here, right? Oh, no crack? Oh, fuck, you guys don't have crack? Oh, fuck you guys.
And while that epidemic definitely brought a lot of ha-has, what was even funnier was the decade that followed, as the real thing was about to be replaced with a virtual substitute in the form of Game Freak's Pokemon.
The first movie recently caused such a frenzy that the switchboard at Warner Brothers was flooded with 70,000 calls a minute from people desperate for tickets.
I remember vividly watching the first episode through French television when I was like 4 in the 90s. And that show was Poggers. You had this kid going on an adventure alone without any parental supervision, capturing completely unsuspected animals in bowls, which he was then going to be using in some form of evolved cockfighting. That came out a bit wrong. Now, while kids like myself were pugging at the screen at the sheer awesomeness of a show like that, the adults were burning cards as stabbing stuffed animals with 13-inch swords and claiming that this lovable rat detective was the work of the devil. They called us crazy, didn't they?
So Pokemon is a game, don't think, that teaches children how to enter into the world of witchcraft, how to cast spells, how to use psychic phenomena, how to put to work supernatural powers against their enemies, how to fantasy role play. Pokemon World is a world of the demonic, of the satanic.
Bruh. How do you think that a person like that would feel during the craze that was Pokemon Go? Like during a sermon where some people, occasionally, it does happen, sit on their phones, he'll just do what? Pull out a piece and just send them straight to hell? Well, if that were to be the case, I have some even worse news for individuals like those, because 2024 has brought us the Pokemon that I always wished that we had. One that is so well-fitting in this sinful world. Welcome to Palworld.
Cut that shit out.
Cute, cuddly characters who become supercharged so they can fight their enemies.
Do you want free chicken nuggets? Jesus Christ!
Palworld is the latest genocide simulation game to take over the world by storm, where this time it's not about the humans, but let's be fair, they do feature a great deal. It's part Ark Survival, part Pokemon, part Monster Hunter, Spider-Man, Elden Ring. Okay, you get my point. There's a whole bunch of things involved here. Let's save that for later. Like many survival games with building mechanics, you get to build your own world, which by default is called Palego Islands, because it is comprised of these beautiful archipelagos. So naturally, I did name mine Mistake Islands. Mistakes because ain't no way that this beautiful paradise with natural resources ripe for the taking has just been left there with rampant high unemployment. What will Uncle Sam or Brother G think? That's where I come in. Me, my character, because the character creation here isn't complex at all. This is no Baldur's Gate 3. This is no Monster Hunter. This is not even freaking Wild Hearts. Rest in peace, brave soul. Evil took you away from us way too soon. It's a bit more like Street Fighter 6 in that it allows you to create characters that suffer from several comorbidities. Mine, however, was just that of being black. and being given the freaking Killmonger haircut every single time. Like, what the actual hell? This thing has been plaguing melanated folks since 2018. Think of something new, god damn it. So waking up to these pals about to do something to me, I decided to ignore any types of instruction, be it the subtle messages on the iPad or objective ones like the objective on the top right of the screen. Nope, like a big boy, I was going on my own way in search for adventure. And I did indeed find adventure, and it started with violence. Since I had no weapons, I was forced to Fist of the North Star my way into employment. Call me Kiyonshiro, bitch, give me your wool. That meant chicken, dead, sheep, absolutely dead. Deforestation. We would get to that eventually. Rocks. Doing all the crazy shenanigans on the shoreline actually was pretty nice because I got introduced to just how beautiful the world was. The Genshin-like mechanics. Got to harass the local wildlife. Discovered the existence of dungeons.
Fight back, nigga! Fight back!
Harass the local wildlife some more. Opened my menus only to learn about the material cost of every single construction and okay, so I did set a macro so that this guy could continue doing his thing while we talk. So while he continues doing that, let's talk about the developer. Because if there's anything more impressive than this company monumental rise to success, it is definitely the head dev of Pocket Pair. This dude was a total novice, a complete noob, somebody who had to comb through codes and manuals and tutorials to figure out how to put a game together. It's like he was doing that thing of building a video game in a
cave! With a box of scraps!
Riveting. He assembled an entire team that consisted of people that had only been in the industry for a few years. These ranging from animators who were familiar with Unity to gun hobbyists who had no experience at all in game making but was only modeling the sticks that say boom just for fun. Which, for a side note, the inclusion of gun in this game was made because foreigners like guns. Yeah, I just thought that was a hilarious reason to do it for. And the position went all the way down to high schoolers who just knew how to do the things better than him. And these folks truly had to prove their trust in him because years into development he decided to shift from Unity to Unreal Engine 4 and later on to Unreal Engine 5, which, by the way, is one hell of a change in framework because porting one game to another is not just changing assets, it requires you relearning an entire thing. But to be fair, that ended up saving them a lot of development time later on, but it is still learning an entirely new framework. And I haven't even touched on the financial side of things. It is said that the studio started with a budget of around $10,000, which he acquired through cryptocurrency. Yeah, here's to hope that he doesn't pull a platinum game in the future. No, but seriously, when it came to Palworld, the budget of the game exceeded around 1 billion yen, which is equivalent to like $6 million. And they did so by like taking all the loans, like emergency loans. They forced everybody to like smash the piggy bank. It is said that they even contacted the Yakuza. Yeah. A POV of the Yakuza now realizing that the guy can actually pay his loan back. Now, while being responsible with your money and also taking care of the people working under you, it's nice. One thing that I appreciate the most is when he was asked about his creative direction towards the game. To which he answered, I quote, I don't have a creative vision for the game. I just want to make a game that people like. Now, are those words indicative of innovation within the field that is already oversaturated with redundancy? No, but do they signify that the developers are most definitely going to give players exactly what they want? You bet. And it really shows because as I was done doing the thing there, I started messing with the building mechanics and that stuff was fun. It's a survival game, so building mechanics were going to be used to provide me with shelter, protection against the elements, the pals, occasionally from the locals, or if you were to carry my kind of complexion, against the police who will be chasing after you because you were trying to see if you could actually capture a human in the game. Which, by the way, you definitely can. Inhumane behavior. I'll show you inhumane behavior. Base building is an essential part of the progression, as the game tells you outright. Your base can house pals, your stuff, and very quickly turns into a stronghold against the near daily raids that are launched upon you, whether we're talking about the Fire Nation. Animal rights activists. Okay, what's happening? It's Peter raiding my compound again. What in the actual hell? What is this? Or... Listen, the devs knew exactly what the hell they were doing with this. Neuron-activating hentai niggas. Now, the great thing is that it really doesn't take long for you to realize how leveling works in this game. Yes, the game does in fact urge you to go out there and search for adventure, to explore the world, to capture more pals. But if you aren't aware of the messages like that in the bottom of your screen, you will miss the optimal leveling strategy, which is to capture 10 pals of each kind. This in turn is something that gives you an infinitely linear XP boost that you get every single time that you do this. But what you can also do is simply stay at your base. Leveling up does not necessitate exploration. It's kind of like in World of Warcraft back in the olden days. I'm not too sure if they still do it, but hopefully they do. But in Classic, you would actually get some XP from leveling up professions. And that was amazing because every single thing that you did was actually a reward that you could use for something, if in the least just for giving you a bit more of an experience boost. Pretty much same principle applies here. Once you climb a certain level of the tech tree and unlock the incubators as well as the breeding farm, yes, you can do that here. You can just do the same process from the comfort of your own base. But you don't even need to do that, because every single thing that you do earns you XP in this game. Building your base, building other stuff, gathering resources, hiring pals for paid labor. They are paid in food and sleep. For which, by the way, I have to interject here a little bit. This is a tangent regarding the devs. They were most certainly a bit more inspired by RimWorld rather than just Pokemon. I do believe that Pokemon was just like the coating at the end of baking a massive cake. Because the things that you can subject these creatures to is freaking beyond science. For example, the process of feeding them. You can give them the conventional diet based off of the crop that you cultivated. Pull a Marie Antoinette and give them cake. And I know, before anybody freaking points this out, it is brioche. I am aware. Just go with the meme. If they do not find that tasty enough, you can always go with the bodies of humans. Yeah, the game allows you to do that, and it's almost as disturbing as feeding them their own flesh and blood. Big-ass creatures, why do they require so much food? Oh, well, there, I quite enjoy the texture of these things. What is it? Well, that's your mum. What? Yeah, I would say that she's pretty rich in calories. Where was I? Yeah, base building. I think that is one of the greatest strengths of this game, and it is made even better when you realize that it too revolves around the game's core, the pals. As your productivity is dependent on pals with specific skills, they will help you with various tasks like mining rocks, lighting furnaces, lumber, harvesting crop like while you're on a plantation, and this is still February. That kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. The things you craft help you capture more pals, which in turn give you new assets to the labor force that will help you deal with higher level NPCs and pals in the world that grow progressively less impressed with the size of your balls. This puts you back into the production loop as crafting items becomes a necessity. The tools you make facilitates the tasks that you do, which in turn give you more product and give you more pals, etc, etc. And it creates just a perfect feedback loop that elicited the type of feeling that I would get from games like Factorio, Satisfactory, or Subnautica even. Yeah, that freaking game. Where building was not just a one-off thing that felt like a chore, it was fun. And when push came to shove, absolutely chaotic. Hold on, I just gotta see what I'm putting there in the background, because I'm wondering if the pals can make it up here. The game only requires me to have a certain amount of beds, but it doesn't say that they need to be at a level where they can actually sleep on them. Well, to me this is half the fun of a game, when I'm starting to goof around testing the limitation of what is possible, starting to wonder about the aesthetics of certain things. How is my base going to look like? Will the inclusion of a certain pal boost the effectiveness of my sweatshop? Those are the type of questions you start asking yourself. Like, look, there was a certain level in the game where I was seriously speculating about the aesthetics of using this, like, a giant bird, Zapdos-looking creature, or using a giant electrical inflatable dinosaur to power up my generators. And just the sentence alone is freaking nuts. Now, this doesn't mean that everything is rosy. Still today, with the many patches that the game has received, it remains littered with enough bugs for Disney to sue for intellectual property theft. Like, look at Kurt Cobain over there, struggling for his life. There is little confidence to be had in the inclusion of clearly better suited pals for certain jobs, because they absolutely refuse to detect work even when they're placed right in front of them. What do you mean not detected work? A detector lying sucker sh. And here's the thing, until now I've only been talking about how to implement pals in the workforce, but out in the field, they can be used as supporting combat, protection, or even mounts. As an example, take this proud Canadian over there. What do you think that you can do with it? Obviously, Theodore Roosevelt, that sucker. How about a dragon? Duh, a giant bird. Now, this is actually where it gets interesting. Jamie, can you pull that clip of Joe talking about birds?
Birds have bones that are hollow, so they're really light. And then they have feathers, which cover a large surface area. And they use the hollow bones and the feathers to push down on the air.
No, okay, I'm gonna stop. The answer is
Of course!
But those are the obvious stuff. How about that big guy over there? Well, how do you think he gets around? Well, he flops his bloody hands up to soar into the sky. This is so stupid. And to make it even better, if you've progressed long enough in your tech tree, you can equip this guy with freaking rocket launchers. It's the true cocaine bear experience. Get it? Because cocoa leaves from chewing... never mind. The pals offer both utility and strength in combat, and selecting each of the 5 that you can carry with you at a time becomes a careful pick for proficiency. This makes everything outside of combat have a certain level of importance, and in combat is made 100 times better with the third-person view that you can have when riding your pal into battle. While these things obviously are based on Pokemon-style battle, they are truly channeling the feeling that I had as a kid when I was watching newer seasons of Pokemon, just wishing that the trainers were a bit more involved into the battles themselves. You know, assisting the creatures that were fighting on their behalf, in the likes of Pokemon Ranger that you had on Nintendo DS, or Digimon, for which Digimon fans have really got to be mad at the moment. Like, why aren't we the ones who are being compared to Palworld? Like, we are the original guys. Give us a bit of the spotlight. But it is overall much better to be an active participant in the battle rather than just being a coach that yells on the sidelines. It makes every single encounter a lot more interesting, even when it comes to the boss battles, which are not necessarily difficult. Of course they are in the beginning, as some of them will tend to make you feel as if you were entering the wrong instance in a Dark Souls or Elden Ring dungeon. But when something like, for example, the boss battles in the towers are limited to a time frame of like 10 minutes, you are going to need to be a bit more inventive. Genetically enhance your pals with the blood of their kin, enhance yourself, only to return to the boss to dominate them with overwhelming strength or firepower. And at times, you don't even need to do that, because a slight bit of ingenuity can allow you to coast to the game in a pretty easy fashion. It is absolutely brilliant what you can do here at times.
And now for something completely different.
What is, however, not so brilliant and rather sad is the fact that these are ideas that game freaks should have thought of years ago. And thus, discussions surrounding this game has prompted fans of Nintendo, or Game Freak for that matter, to either rejoice or go straight for the salt. Because you know that I've got to address the salt in this game. It's about enough to give most of you hypertension. as anything that grows as quickly as Palworld has is bound to have some people disliking it. It is not the last one, it's just one amongst many, as not every single game can be held as to uniting people through the power of democracy. As we find ourselves in a scenario similar to the craze of the 90s, where on one camp you have the Pokemon enjoyers, both light and hardcore, just salivating at the sight of finally getting some good fucking food. And on the other hand, replacing evangelicals, we have the same type of people with a minority that actually have some valid criticism that they're levying towards this game, and the rest just being Poke fans who seem to be suffering from Stockholm Syndrome of the Nintendo kind. And I just think that this whole debacle led a lot of people to have some horrible takes, so I am adding mine to this bunch. For, on the enjoyer side, those who are supporting Palworld, there was a point where there was absolutely zero criticism that was allowed to be made about this game. And I'm saying this in hyperbole because anybody who as much as raised an eyebrow toward this game had their videos mass disliked or their post mass downvoted. Case in point were videos that displayed comparisons between Pals and Pokemon. It was direct dismissal, for which of course the smoking gun was that the evidence was fabricated because the individual who was presenting it was scaling the model up so that they will fit with the vertices of the other models from Palworld. To which... hold on. Have you ever desired to increase your mass and gain overnight? Well, I got the right product for you. Lisa Gains. With this shirt alone, you are guaranteed to maximize your progress with 300%. It has a whopping 100% approval rate for every single one of our customers. And for the... hold on a minute, how much do we have here? Circa 5% of the female in the audience, there is this version in the works.
Oh, come on, it's just a Mona Lisa on the t-shirt.
What do you mean it's just a Mona Lisa on the t-shirt? I've clearly enlarged some assets here. Like look, there are data mined models of creatures like this one that looks like Mewtwo from X and Y, like is pretty much there, but whatever. My point is that a small portion of the complaints are actually valid. There are worries about the early access state of the game because of the previous entries that the studio has had. Now, obviously, I do understand that the studio did a Hail Mary to get where they are now, and it is absolutely commendable. More praiseworthy than almost any AAA studio has been putting out this year alone. But I just think that it would be really sad that in this climate where we're supporting the innovation that indie studios, or depending on your definition, let's just say good studios are bringing to the table in contrast to that of the AAAs, they would be shushing other gamers and artists' play for originality in certain parts of the game. To my understanding, the Pokemon part of this game was very much laid into the development process, something that is very evident from the previous Unreal game Craftopia that the studio had made. That is pretty much the backbone of Palworld. Which means that Palworld, being in development in 2021, decided to add this when? Like, this is clearly Elden Ring, right? I'm not bugging here, this is Elden Ring. I mean, these aspects are everywhere. Now, to reading to some of the interviews, I personally think that this is their attempt of parody. And if I'm correct in this, they have hit the jackpot because this is freaking hilarious. But if that is not the case, I do understand that some people are leaving some concern against it, and I'm just trying to understand where the criticism is coming from. Because at best, the criticism against the game that I like is very likely to put an emphasis on the things that I already love about it, which it has. At worst, this is likely to make me dislike even more the people who comes with unsubstantiated claims that makes this game look bad. And to those doing this,
What's wrong with you?
like the claim of the use of AI, it's beyond stupid. For context, the studio has this game called AI Art Imposter, which a lot of people on social media had been using as a gacha to say that Palworld used AI to generate the creature design. Listen, I'll be the first to tell you about the dangers of AI and the risk that it takes from people and their work and everything, because I actually know people personally who are working in the field of art design and so on who are complaining about this on a daily basis. But my only question to all this is, where is your proof? When people go out of the way looking for confirmation bias and twist the word of a CEO to make it sound like he doesn't care about originality, is where I have an issue with the criticism. Because in reality, Mazobi, the CEO, was saying something like, why make derivative work with a bunch of flashy nothings and lower assets, when market research tells us that the optimal model and that with the most returnability is to simply create the thing that our target audience is already familiar with and maybe slightly tweak it a little bit to make it more fun. This is the context. Without this context, a narrative is created damn quickly, and in today's internet marketplace of ideas, everything goes wrong with that. Another one is the game being called creatively bankrupt. Now this is about to make me mad. Look, like Mazobi said in his interview, as much as we like originality, iteration and evolution is going to be the name of the game moving forward, at least for a certain time, until something, a revolution, whatever, changes. So similarities in video games are bound to be seen there, and there are obviously discussions, like I've mentioned in the video, that we can have about how egregious this can be. How much can you base something off of something else without it actually being creative or feeling original? Ask any of us that are Sherlock Holmes fans. Will we ever have a good adaptation of Sherlock? I don't know. Ask the Sherlock Holmes Foundation to actually let Sherlock be happy for once. No, seriously, this is not a joke. One of the reasons as to why we can never have a good Conan Doyle Sherlock Holmes adaptation is that we cannot reach certain part of the emotional spectrum. Fucking Green Lantern Holmes. Back to my point. Calling this game creatively bankrupt is absolutely criminal. In this game, I can use a penguin as ammunition for my RPG. I can relive some of the best moments of Saints Row 3 or Borderlands.
Oh! Good heavens!
And even in the early levels, I can give a monkey a gun so that he goes out and does the meme thing. And also, speaking of memes, this game is not just a meme. We're not merely talking about a case of, let's say, Metal Gear Revengeance, where you were tuning in for the political satire.
To build a world truly free from the consequences of our actions, just like the founding fathers intended.
Or the memes.
Memes. The DNA of the soul.
For the music that was absolutely phenomenal, or for a Brazilian man's thighs.
Holy Jesus.
I'm being serious here. If this was the case, this game would not have picked at 19 million users and kept on retaining its audience. This is a game that gives players what they want. Zero microtransactions, zero live service, zero loot boxes, no gacha. Okay, that's not true, like there's a lot of RNG involved in this. No online only, no de novo, nor no additional DRMs, like this is a melting pot that will make even Big Shack hot. Pocket Pair has made, I'm gonna use the word, a Pokemon game that can be played by anybody. You can play it as the perpetual 10-year-old who is most likely in a coma and just keep things super cute. Or you can channel your inner Giovanni and actually understand why he would kidnap Pokemons to add them to his labor force, because the productiveness is insane. Palworld is only going to grow and there's no stopping it. I only wish the best for the developers at Pocket Pair, that they actually get their games out of early access stage and that all the features that they have promised actually come into fruition, because they would be pretty cool. Yes, from a consumer's position alone, it is fair to understand that people are not going to care about what goes on in the background because of all the disappointment that the gaming industry has been, well, sending our way. Yet, I think that it's fair to acknowledge that when criticism is being levied, it doesn't mean that one is a shield for the big corporation like Nintendo. Because I think that it can only be healthy to dislike something in defense of originality than just disliking it for the sake of vitriol or for support of a big corporation. Which those who've been sending emails to Nintendo to take down Pocket Pair because of would-be copyright infringement. Really? Really? What's wrong with you? Anyways, these were some of my thoughts regarding Palworld and some of the things that I've experienced with it and my thoughts on the whole drama that is, at least was going on. I think that it has subsided by now. Now, that being said though, I was trying something a little bit new. I guess I added a new format on the channel, so for my subscribers, I hope that you like it. If you're new to the channel, subscribe if you liked it and give it a like. That being said though, see you guys in the next video. It's most likely going to be, some military stuff, or are we going to Depression Town with Disco Elysium. Anyways, have a good one. See you in the next video.